So this is my Sunday morning routine. I have my video games, I have my fluffy slippers, and I have my extremely comfortable couch, as you can see right here. But I do have a little bit of a problem, and it is a massive first world problem. The coffee table is too far away. So I've got my remotes and everything, and they usually sit on the couch here with me, but it's kind of annoying because PlayStation remote is a rechargeable one, so I've got to charge it. And this sort of stuff, it gets knocked off and all that sort of fun stuff. So, beside me, I need some sort of coffee table, but I want something that's quite small, so like a bedside table sort of thing that I can put remotes on, and I want some way that I can recharge these remotes as well. So, I'm going to play some video games for a while, cuddle up with my rather large dog. So I'm going to cuddle up with this lug here. So, yeah. He doesn't want to be on camera, but we're going to cuddle up and I might figure out something to make. So I'm going to play some video games for a little while, and I have some very cool wood plan that I can use for this bedside table, or couch. I'm going to call that a couch side table because I like the sound of that. So if you guys are curious about what I can come up with, then keep tuned, and I will come up with something pretty awesome.
I want to try out my new table saw and to see what I can actually do with it. Check out the video here where, not quite an unboxing one since it didn't come in a boxing, but I was just putting it together and taking you guys along. But I've had this wood sitting in my shed for over a year and a bit now, and it is Wattle, which is an Australian native wood, and it has fantastic figure inside of it, but it is one of the hardest woods that I've ever actually seen in my life. I've tried running it through my thicknesser and it blunt the blade before it even went through one of these ones, which is really hard. So I'm going to see how this one copes up against my new table saw and see if I can make myself a nice little bedside, well not bedside, a couch side table that I can put remote controls on. I can have a little plug that I can put switches and everything in, and I've got a cool design plan for it.
Now, this wood was an absolute find. I found it on Gumtree. I was looking for some stringy bark, and then when I was there picking up that wood for an old desk that I built, they had this in the back shed, and they're like, oh, do you want this as well? And I'm like, sure. It came in one massive log, so it had been dried out, and it wasn't the best piece of wood there was. There were cracks all the way through it, but for what I have planned for it right now, that won't be a problem at all. Now, the top piece there that you can see there that I wanted on the top of it had the most amount of figure of any of the wood, so I was very sure that I wanted to use it. But I needed to find a way so I could make a very solid piece, and that's when I thought epoxy. So I hunted around on Gumtree and I found a really good deal for some clear epoxy, and I figured this would be the perfect project to try and do it on. And I just want it noted that my table saw is absolutely powering through it. It is not struggling at all, which I love about this thing. Now, this is with a little bit of gap here, so I had a bit of a leftover piece and basically cut it out on the bandsaw. Now, sadly, not all the pieces were big enough, so I needed to laminate a few of these guys together, but it came out quite well. Now, this is a mold that I used to try and keep it all in place. It's basically just melamine, hot glued in place, and some silicone around the edges to stop the glue getting out, and then a bit of mold release around it to stop it all sticking. Now, this is my epoxy. It's a 2-in-1 ultra clear epoxy, which is really good stuff. So it's two parts of the regular epoxy and then 1 part hardener, and it comes out to a very glassy like clear finish, which I loved about this stuff. You can see some of the cuts that are in the pictures when I tried to mill it up beforehand. That's my own silly fault, but epoxy, I figured it would go through everything, and it's adding a bit of character and charm to it. Now with this stuff, I found that I just kept on stirring it until it looked completely clear, and that was when I found it was well enough stirred. If you don't stir it enough, then you will have issues with it not setting and that sort of stuff. And it also needs to be relatively warm to set, so I had to put a bit of a heater on it some of the times when this layer was setting. But it's pretty much just a matter of laying it out, pouring it on, and then letting it set up. Now you'll notice that there's a few bubbles that are formed on top, but blowtorch 2 seconds does this really easily. They just pretty much disappear underneath the torch. And this is where I'm very sorry for my neighbours, because this signature is loud. It's just stupid loud. So I've got double the hearing protection on just so I don't end up with a headache after using the thing. But it went through it relatively easily. The epoxy came off it just came off and clogged up all the everything. Clogged up all the pipe work, so I had to unfill it a few times, which is kind of annoying, but I ended up with a hell of a lot of sawdust after I went through the whole thing. There are a couple more epoxy glue ups that I didn't show, so one of the legs didn't really have much of it left, so I built it all up with epoxy, and that went all through there as well. And I'd normally give it to the chickens, but I think there's a little bit too much epoxy in this for that. This is a leg that I actually glued up, so one of the legs there, you can see that there isn't much left to it, so I ended up filling all that up with epoxy as well, but I didn't get it on film, but I'm pretty sure you guys can imagine what it would look like. Now, this was actually one of the worst glue ups I've ever had in my life. It went terribly. The tape that I was trying and hold them together with, it did not stick at all because of the epoxy. It just went completely pear-shaped. So I ended up redoing the entire thing. I sat it inside of a similar sort of mold as what I had in the beginning bit. I hot glued the sides on and then put a whole lot of epoxy, which is why you can see so much on the top of it here. But it ended up holding it together very, very strong, and I got this nice little bit of epoxy in between the joints as well, which I ended up quite liking. And yes, it is very, very, very dusty. I'm glad I had the dust protection there, otherwise I would not be breathing that stuff in very happily. For the gloss, it was pretty much a simple case of poly, brushed it on, gave it a sand down, put a thinner coat on, gave it another brush to sand down, and that was pretty much it. So it went together quite easily. Okay, so it's now hooked up. I can put all my little remotes in their own little place. It's perfect height for this. I have my little charger, so where's my charger? With the little power point that I put in here, I have my little charger, so, but it's completely out of sight as long as I can find the hole. And it is now charging. So I can now play video games without worrying about the power running out and all that sort of fun stuff. And I really do love how this thing looks. I love the epoxy, being able to see straight through the epoxy, and it is just awesome. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you guys got something out of this. And since it is Sunday morning at the moment, I am going to play some video games, or I could edit this video. Video games. I hope you guys got something out of this. So I will see you guys next time, and keep tuned. Thanks, guys. Oh, it's on now. I'm not very good at these games, but I still play them. See you next time.